I want to thank you guys for coming tonight to the great city of East Point, and more importantly, a great theater in the city of East Point, the Windmill Arts Center. For those that haven't been, this is a great white box theater. We've had some other Connect Talks here in the black box theater. It's a great 80-seat stadium seating environment. This is one of the great hidden jewels, open about a year or so. And please come not only see the plays, but it's an excellent facility to rent and utilize for any events you may have. So tonight we're very excited. We've partnered with the United Way of Greater Atlanta, and we've got perhaps, I think, probably the most important topic we've had since we've had Connect Talk, because it's an important community development topic, the Child Wellbeing Index. Before we start, I wanted to do a few introductions. I wanted to bring up the Mayor of East Point and to welcome us and say a few words, Mayor Deanna Holliday Ingram. Thank you, Mayor.
Great. So good evening. What an amazing topic. Welcome to the Point. I say there's no point like East Point. And so every time you come, just say it. You'll believe it too, and you'll be here. But there's truly no point like East Point, and we have an amazing opportunities within our city because of our diversity. Our diversity is our strength, but we also have some real opportunities in our city. 28% of my households in my city are experiencing poverty, meaning they have less than a $25,000 annual household income. I believe about 22% of residents don't have health insurance. And 43.8% of my kids in my city that are under the age of 18 are growing up in poverty. So almost 50% of the kids in the city of East Point are growing up experiencing poverty. And so that says to me we have a lot of amazing work to do in our city to partner with people like the United Way and other organizations that help fill the gaps and help us be able to stretch our resources and make sure that our children and families have what they need in order to be successful. And so we're excited about continuing to use this Child Wellbeing Index. We're participating in Archie, so we're aware of this a while back, and that's where I got my data from on our statistics in our city. But the work is important, and I think the data helps drive the conversation and really show the real need that exists and the real opportunities for us to collaborate, to connect, to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all our children and families.
And I wanted to acknowledge a few people in the audience, obviously from the city of South Fulton, City Council District 1, Catherine Rao. Thank you for coming. And then also in the packet that you have, and you have many different pieces of information. You've got information about the Child Wellbeing Index. You also have the ATL Airport Guide. But one of the things I wanted to show you, we're very excited about for South Fulton County, is we have this card here. It's the Grady Comprehensive Care Facility that's opening up. So not too far from here at the Camp Creek Marketplace area, 34,000 square foot facilities opening up. And we've got the practice administrator and other folks. You guys want to say a word or two about the facility? Because it's opening in December, which will really help us, because if memory serves me correctly, of the 14 measures that make up the index, 2 of them deal with hospital insurance, and I think this is an important part of an addition to South Fulton County. Give a few words real quick. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction. So I'm Dr. Michelle Allen, and this is my colleague here as well, so she'll say a few words. So we are tremendously excited to be opening up. Like you said, we'll be opening up in December. So Grady has a lot of what we call neighborhood clinics around Atlanta, including one in East Point. However, this one is going to be very different from the others. We're calling this one Camp Creek Comprehensive Care Center, and just as the name implies, we'll be in the Camp Creek area. However, it will be comprehensive, like the name implies, and we'll be able to take care of kids from birth, from birth all the way to geriatrics. We will have both primary care as well as many specialists in the building as well. We'll have imaging services that includes x-ray, CT scanning. We'll have mammography services as well, and even an MRI van or truck also. So we're super excited about that. We'll have a lab there as well. So we're just super excited in general. Grady actually worked on this project for about probably 5 or 6 years, and basically they looked looked at different areas around Atlanta to try to figure out where the greatest need would be, and they realized that a lot of patients or people that were coming to the main Grady downtown were coming from this area, were coming from the South Fulton area. So they realized how great this need was for all people. So we're excited to be able to have this service, and I will be, again, the pediatrician at the site.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. I am Sarah. I am the practice administrator for Camp Creek. I just moved up here from Central Florida about 5 months ago, so I am new to the Atlanta area, loving it so far. We are extremely excited about being in the area at Camp Creek, and what we are offering to the community is a comprehensive care center, so primary care with pediatrics, adult medicine, soon to be adolescent medicine as well. We will also have a nutritionist on board at some point, not right away, but probably in the next month or so. Behavioral health, which will be for both adults and children and families. And cardiology, orthopedics, GI. So if you need your 45 or 50-year-old colonoscopy, yes, you can get that done in our office. And also the imaging facilities that we have inside the building, CT, MRI. MRI will be coming soon, mammography, DEXA, which is your bone scan, bone density, lab services, and also convenience care, which for families is very important. So many of you have probably had kids that get sick or injured at 7 o'clock at night, and you can't plan that. So we will have some convenience care components to our practice. We will have, at some point, we'll have some extended hours, not yet, but soon we will have extended hours. Of course, we'll keep in touch with the community and let you know when that happens. But convenience care is like same-day walk-in appointments. So if you don't have an appointment, you can call up, make a same-day appointment when you're sick or injured, and you don't have to worry about waiting in line or going to an urgent care or going to the emergency room. So it's all about convenience, and it's all about taking care of the entire family, not just one part of your family. Everybody in your family can come to the Comprehensive Care Center at Camp Creek. We take all insurances. We will be open on Saturdays as well from 8 to 12. So again, another convenience component for this community that is growing very rapidly. So we're glad to be here. We thank you for having us here tonight, and we hope to see you out there soon with your families.
So let me introduce our speaker. We're very glad to have Tim Pakenham, the Chief Operating Officer of United Way of Greater Atlanta. And Mr. Pakenham joined the United Way in January 2016, prior to which he was enjoying his retirement after a long career at Alston Bird. His entire bio is on this folder. I won't take any more time. Let's bring up Mr. Pakenham. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Michael. All right, I gotta multitask and get used to this. I got my notes, I got a clicker for the PowerPoint, and I got a handheld microphone. So if I can pull this off, you guys should be impressed. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you guys for being here. It speaks. Sure. I think it speaks volumes of the fact that you guys are here. It means you care. And if we don't start with caring, we got big issues. Madam Mayor said something that resonated very greatly with me, and it was an unplanned intro to some of what I'm going to describe for you tonight, and that is data, the numbers. I describe around our organization, United Way of Greater Atlanta, that data turned into insight is jet fuel. And we're working very hard to really become a data-driven, digitally transformed enterprise. We have a lot of information, but historically the organization hasn't done all that well turning it into insight and business intelligence. And so that's a large part of what we're going to do at the United Way. What I'm going to do this evening is talk to you a little bit about youth and the youth of South Fulton, County, in the context of some regional challenges that all concerned citizens should know about. To Michael's laudable work, economic development is community development. Community development is economic development. You can't separate the two. They go hand in hand. But we've got a multi-generational poverty problem. We've got an income inequity problem that's more acute in Atlanta than anywhere else in the United States. So let me repeat that for you just to do a little bit of context setting. The multiple between the highest 20% of wage earners in Atlanta and the lowest 20% of wage earners in greater Atlanta, that 13-county footprint we serve, that multiple is higher than in any city in the United States. If you're born into poverty, Metro Atlanta, and I want to pick on them, but let's take Forest Park, 30297. If you're born into poverty in Forest Park, the chances of you getting out of poverty by the time you're 23 years old are fewer than 1 in 25. That's less than 4%. In the 13-county metro area we serve, there are 1.3 million youth. That is age 17 and under. 1.3 million. Of that 1.3 million, 500,000 of them wake up every morning with material barriers to their success. Whether it's educational or behavioral challenges, whether it's hunger, whether it's homelessness, whether they can't get the toothache fixed, whether they're going to school hungry, whether the parent is a substance abuser or illiterate, whether there's even a caregiver. We got 500,000, which is almost 37% of our youth population in Metro Atlanta faces some kind of challenge every day. And of that 500,000, half, 250,000, based on what we know today, if their circumstances don't change, they have no shot. They have no shot. They're not going to graduate from high school, much less college. They're not going to get good jobs. They're going to trade in any kind of illicit activity or product that allows them to get by. They're going to become incarcerated. These are staggering numbers. There's 250,000 kids, and guess what? They have faces. They have faces. So in any case, one of the reasons I went to the United Way a couple of years ago was because as a practicing lawyer, my real interest in community development was around early education. I got very interested in the brain science and youth development and the importance of early education, emotional and intellectual supports, particularly to at-risk populations. If a 2-year-old grows up in a household without music, without color, without language, without food, without emotional support and intellectual stimulation, by the time this 2-year-old is 5, the 5-year-old is going to be so far behind he or she's never going to catch up. So when the United Way came and approached me about coming to work there, the hook for the United Way as it related to me personally was youth and the challenge of youth and the obligation that we have as human beings walking this earth to leave our handprints, our fingerprints, leave the communities that we live in and that we serve better places when we depart than when we arrived. The other thing that intrigued me about what the United Way was up to was that we created a proprietary measurement, an index called the United Way. It's called the Child Wellbeing Index. Now, Vanessa, before we go on, let me just stop here. This is the child well-being scoring for each of the 13 counties that we serve. The composite is 58.9. Now, there is nothing perfect, and we're not claiming perfection with our child well-being index, but it is a very, very well-considered proxy for the state of youth in our city. It measures certain things that have to do with the quality of the household experience, the quality of the neighborhood experience, literacy, access to health care, educational achievement at the milestone years, and so forth. If you take our 1.3 million and you score them on our index, for Metro Atlanta as a whole, we get 58.9. That's an F. Okay, we're failing. Our objective is, our stated goal, it's published everywhere, we put a stake in the ground, is to move that number up 10 points by 2027. We're basically in year 3 of a 10-year plan. Okay, so let's turn to South Fulton for a second. Of those 500,000 kids that I mentioned before who live in circumstances of low well-being, 43,000 of them live in South Fulton County. 43,000. It's almost 10% of the whole region. Now, granted, Fulton County is the most populous county, but the reality of it is that communities south of I-20, and I don't care if you're talking about Snellville or anywhere else around the whole arc, going from east to west around the airport, the numbers are bad. The number for South Fulton in the aggregate is 39.1. The lowest zip code is 30354 in South Fulton, and that number is an appalling 23.7. The highest score for the zip codes in South Fulton is 30213, which is 56, which is still lower than the regional average or the regional score. So there have been various convenings that the United Way sponsors, and among the community conversations that have occurred, and I shouldn't say among, as a result of the community conversations that have occurred, the South Fulton community as a whole has decided, as it relates to the 14 metrics that go into our composite index, high school, college, and career readiness is the top priority, and dealing with two related things that have to do with financial instability and the cost of housing. We take over 100,000 calls a year to our information and referral system at the United Way. It's called 211. And by far and away, the most calls that we get, a super majority of those calls, have to do with housing instability. I don't have enough money to pay the rent and to pay the utilities and buy food. Landlord has kicked me out. What do I do? I don't know what the number is. I wish I could tell you, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was 90% of the calls. The good news is we've got some pretty cool data visualization and mapping tools that we can show you. They'll be ready to see. You can go on our, who knows what FAFSA is, by the way? Okay, you guys know what FAFSA is. Well, guess how much FAFSA money was left on the table last year? Because the eligible population didn't take the time to go try to access the FAFSA money. FAFSA money is work study, it's scholarships, it's stipends, it's Pell Grants, it's all this. $2.6 billion was left on the table. So we need FAFSA tutoring. So a little bit about the numbers. I said there's 43,000 youth in South Fulton who live in circumstances of low child well-being. So just doing some rough arithmetic, if you just take the cohort from 16 to 24, call that roughly 1/3 of those kids, that's 14,000 kids in what we call the Opportunity Youth Zone. We're able to serve about 2,900 of those. So about 25%. The good news is that the success is there, right? When these kids get the training and they get employed, they have much better chances of thriving. We're doing this at Banneker, we're doing it at McNair, and as I said, we're doing it with our various agency partners. So that's more or less the story. I think I've got other notes, but I guess the other detail I would give you is that it costs about $3,000 to put a kid into the program and run them through the various trainings and programs, about $3,000 per kid. So if you multiply 3,000 kids by $3,000, I think you get $9 million, don't you? Costs a lot of money. We get a lot of support from the corporate community, which is interested in having a trained, dependable workforce, and so on. But it's all about putting these young people on the pathway to high school graduation, the pathway to career readiness, the pathway for success in life. So that's really the story of Opportunity Youth and Youth Works, which is just that one segment from 16 to 24 that's along the cradle to career continuum. But the point I want to leave you with is, if we can get to those kids and we can get them in the program and we can get the program funded, the scores are going to go up and the quality of life in South Fulton is going to improve. We all need to own it. We all need to care. But we owe it to these kids. And this is, you know, this is really this is sort of the other story of Greater Atlanta, right? You don't hear this talked about at the Chamber of Commerce in downtown. But we got to do something about it. United Way wants to be your partner. Hope you'll become advocates and ambassadors for this work or any other work that we're doing to tackle these problems. We show you on the heat map, we show you the scoring, and we're going to track it. We're committed to doing this, and we hope you'll come along on the journey with us. I very much appreciate the chance to talk, and I appreciate your attention. Is it questions?
I guess I'll ask the first question. So I'm a business owner, and I want to support this either with resources or money. How can I help the Youth Works program as an example?
You call Tricia Crossman. Do you want to speak to that? Sure.
So excuse my voice, I'm getting over a cold. So really the opportunities to get engaged are multi-layered. So some of it is, are there businesses who are willing to provide paid internships and paid work experiences for young people? You know, for adolescents, they just need their first job, right? And their first job with a company that understands that adolescents are probably not going to be your top performer and that they're going to need a little bit more coaching and they're going to need some support and they're going to need some forgiveness. As well as for our young adults who are looking for a career path. We had a young lady who went through the program and got an internship at a real estate company, and the real estate company loved her so much they paid for her to get her licensing, and she's starting a career with them that she didn't know it was going to be her career path when she started. So some of it is companies willing to bring these young people in their doors to coach them and support them in these first working experiences. It's also, you know, some companies may say, you know, we can't have young people in our company for legality reasons, for safety reasons, opportunity to support youth-serving organizations, improve their capacity to provide really high-quality job readiness and employability skills training for young people. So the financial resources to help build a really robust infrastructure for supporting youth employment across the region. But it is also talking to colleagues and talking at networking events about the importance of getting involved. Is there a willingness to be a mentor to a young person who is thinking about college or whatever their post-secondary plan would be, and to be able to spend time with a professional who's achieved those things and have gotten over those whatever obstacles they had to get over in order to reach those goals, to help them navigate their planning around it. All of those are ways where we need the community to help us drive this work.
How come there is not enough infrastructure in terms of programming for youth in South Fulton County in general? Are there any conversations with the YMCAs that are looking at expanding in the South County and in any other areas?
The answer to that is, although I don't know about the YMCA specifically, I know there are with the Boys and Girls Clubs, and another one that is escaping me right now. But you ask a really astute question, because when we look at targeting our investments, we fund programs, okay? And we haven't driven nearly as much money as we'd like to into the quote red zones on
Right.
that, right? One of the reasons for that is that the infrastructure isn't there. There's nobody, there's no
Programming, right.
There's no building, there's no place.
Right, to provide this program.
And so we've got to, as a community, get a lot better at providing infrastructure that will provide the supportive programming. But irrespective of that, I think philosophically you can expect the United Way to be more intentional about driving investments into the red zones.
And as a follow-up to that, are there, or will you consider conversations with municipalities who may have rec programs, but may need to scale them, so it's not necessarily just those traditional models, but looking at maybe some non-traditional ways of United Way investing?
Another great question, and I won't preempt my colleague Denise' response, but just to give you one data point on that. We invested in 34 programs last year. We're doing it over the course of this year, that we have had no historical relationship whatsoever. They're brand new. They're proven. They have track records of success. And in some cases, or most cases, they do two things really well. They track things the way that need to be tracked in terms of outcomes, data, results. And the other is, in most instances, they have a partner of some kind, whether it's school system or county government in some cases, and one prominent case that Denise is shepherding now. Point being, there are multiple resources at work, and those things will resonate with us more than, just some legacy program that's got, resource development team that's bigger than us.
Right.
We want to try to get things to scale, and getting things to scale, it takes more than one agency to do.
So this doesn't address the expanding the providers in the area, but as we have started to roll out YouthWorks, we very intentionally started with Boys and Girls Club and the Y because of their ability to grow more quickly. But the long-range goal is to not just stick with those, right? That we want to start with the ones that allow us to scale quickly because they can learn from the implementation and take it to the next site and the next site and the next site and the next site. Our funding is in South Fulton with those organizations. But the long-term goal is to hopefully get any youth serving organization that's serving adolescents or wants to serve adolescents better, kind of into this network of partners to do this work.
And they also have capital. The big guys have capital to build a building. They don't have to.
Just following up on what you just mentioned, do you guys plan to work with social services, different CPAs, child placement agencies? Because when they find jobs, then the cycle does not repeat itself.
Why, yes. So we have been hosting Youth Works Partner Network meetings in South Fulton and the Department of Juvenile Justice, and they have a new, I don't think it's a new position, but a new person in the position doing youth workforce. Really smart, savvy woman, and she's attending those meetings. We also have the TeamWorks team from DFACS, Division of Children and Family Services, are in those as well. We also have partnered with DFACS in their TeenWorks program, which is DFACS's job readiness program and their summer employment program, to offer them additional resources to help with job readiness training for the young people that they work with. So absolutely, yes.
I don't think I need that, but thank you. If you go back a couple of slides, I just have a technical question. Can we do that? Yes, right there. So I just want to be sure that I'm understanding. You're asking businesses to put students or young people, 16 to 24-year-olds, in internship opportunities. What's the average cost per youth mean? Is that you want a contribution from the business of $3,000 for?
If we're wanting to run a young person through the entire Youth Works initiative, so that the extent of that work is going to look a little different based on the needs of each particular young person, but that may be mental health supports, that may be a lot of job readiness training. So before they get to your paid internship, some of that cost can also be, if the companies come and say, we'll place the young people and we'll pay for them, that allows us to bring some of that cost down.
Okay, so they go through the training prior to coming to work. So, and I'm with Christian City. We're not for profit, but we have some opportunities for interns, and so I'm kind of trying to figure out from that perspective. So they've been through training before they come to us. While they're interning with us, are they also getting support through the Youth Works programs ongoing? Okay.
Best practices in youth employment. So they're getting those employability skills, soft skills, sometimes some hard skills training, depending upon the age of the youth, right? A 16-year-old needs basic job readiness. An 18-year-old needs a lot more. We need to be working towards a certificate of value that can lead to a life, sustaining wage. But yes, they will be matched. The folks that work with them in the job readiness are providing them coaching while they're also on the job. In an ideal setting, it doesn't always happen, but in an ideal setting, if the coach can be in regular communication with the business.
That was the question.
So it's almost like we're a network working together. That doesn't always happen. Some businesses are able to do that, some are not. But that is an ideal scenario, so that coach can get the feedback from the business on what is working and what's not working, so they can continue to work with the young person to help them be most successful.
Thank you.
Well, let me throw this out, because you mentioned about getting to businesses, and one of the things that we have at Connect South Fulton is we've worked with the chamber presidents and the business association presidents for however it makes sense. I'm more than happy to convene them who have the memberships so we can push that message through. I also have a group with the South Fulton business leaders, and would love to get you guys in front of them to figure out how we can sort of evangelize and get the word out. Because the businesses, we all have probably done internships or co-ops in our lives, and we know how valuable that was. It's not hard to get to them, and I'll volunteer to provide that as an access point for the Youth Works program. The other thing I think that, Catherine, you made the question about resources and things like that. I want to say this publicly is one of the things that was important for us since we've partnered with United Way, because we're all in, because like you so eloquently said, community development is economic development, it's community development. We're working with them to connect them to all of the cities in South Fulton and the county, because sometimes it's about convening. Sometimes it's about collaboration and partnership. It's not about getting a dollar, it's about getting resources and connecting to people. So we're going elected official or mayor by mayor to figure out how can we have a network of all the cities working together where we have resources to connect, and then we'll pull the businesses in as well, because this issue really is a economic development negative selling point. It's really subtle. And when you look at two areas, this area here versus this, higher cost of public safety and quality of life is a negative economic development issue, and that's kind of what attracted me to this, because we don't often see it that way. It's a quality of life issue, but this is how we put ourselves in position to have a better quality of life, but position ourselves to cultivate investment so we can grow our area, so we have all the things we want from people from 18 months old to 108. So I just wanted to add that point to it. I don't know, Vanessa, if you have anything you want to share while we wait for another question at all?
I would just say, number one, I want to thank everybody for coming out and listening to our story. It is critical to the success of South Fulton for people to be aware. And that's one of the things we are trying to do a better job of, is spreading the word, telling the story, so that when you hear the story, it touches your heart. When you see a child that is in need and you know that you may have something that can help them. So Michael has been very, very gracious in allowing me the opportunity to address audiences that before we had not addressed. We have met with the Chief Operating Officer, Deputy for Fulton County. Today we met with Commissioner Darnell. Tomorrow or day after tomorrow, we're meeting with Mayor Vince Williams. So we are telling a story. There's a compelling need. Each county has a pot of gold, not just in terms of dollars and cents, but in terms of people and resources, that if we all work together, we can move those red spots to orange and orange to yellow and yellow to green. If you notice on the map of South Fulton, there was no green. And that doesn't mean that there are not good things that are going on in South Fulton. It just means that it's not a concentration of things going on that it would show up on the map. Clayton County, whose score is even lower than South Fulton's, has green on the map. My goal is to get some green on this map. And to do that, I need each and every one of you to tell somebody else what you heard tonight, to spread the word, and to work with us to make this a success for South Fulton. And that's given your time, talent, and your treasures. So I thank you for coming out tonight. I'm going to give you the call of action to go back and tell somebody else what you heard tonight, and then we can come back together, hopefully, at a later date with some better information for you in terms of what is happening in South Fulton.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Vanessa, Tricia, Deborah, and the United Way. Was this informative tonight? And I guess the question is, after you leave here, what can you do? I know there's a ambassador kit on the website, but what could, Vanessa, maybe do it again, as an individual that's not a business, what could I do to help spread the word specifically?
Number one, go to our website, www.unitedwayatlanta.org. On the website, you can look at by zip code the health and well-being of the community. So we have it at that level. Look at that. Look at your community and see how far has it progressed, or how far does it need to progress based on the score. What Tim shared with you earlier, in South Fulton, the range is from 23.7 to 56. So that just says that we need a lot of help. We need individuals. I've got a volunteer day at Banneker High School on November 17th. Come out and help us work at Banneker to beautify the area and clean it up. We've got lots of volunteer opportunities on the website. Doesn't cost you a dime to volunteer. It just takes some physical labor and the will to get out and be there. We need you in spirit, in mind, and in body. So come out and help us on the website. You've got some material at your chairs. My name and number is on that material. If you have questions, please feel free to follow up with me. So thank you again.
And lastly, I want to thank one of our sponsors. I know you're hungry. I actually have some sponsor giveaways for food and beverages. I want to thank Mike and Ellen Simpson at the ATL Airport Guide. So we'll do it this way. We all were very attentive. This is like school. So whoever remembers the regional score for the Atlanta area gets a $20 gift certificate for the crab spot on Virginia Avenue. Anyone? What was the regional score for Atlanta? That's right, Tony. And who remembers the score for South Fulton County? It's a $20 gift certificate to GR Crickets in College Park. That's right. There you go. And I will make this a little more difficult. This is a $20 gift certificate, Hammers Beach and Bar and Grill in Hapeville. I think the opportunity age range is a good question, right? Who remembers the opportunity age range? There you go. Tim, you have another question for me? If I can throw out a number? That was nothing on the board behind me, actually. I thought we're at the last slide.
How many children in South Fulton live in circumstances of low child abuse?
Yeah, and it's two tickets to the Uptown Comedy Corner in Hapeville. Yes, ma'am. 49,000. That's close enough. It's about 42.3, I think. Remember, serves me correctly. And Vanessa, you have a question? Because this is 2 tickets for the Academy Theater in Hapeville. Is a really nice gift for those who like theater.
What was the number of children in metropolitan Atlanta under the age of 17? The total number of children.
Crickets.
The number of kids in all of Atlanta, metropolitan Atlanta, under the age of 17 that our studies go.
We made it go to an easier one. Does anyone know the number for Clayton County? Because I think that's in the handouts, I believe. And the last question is, the last one is for Arches Brewing, a really nice brewery in Hapeville. It's a $10 gift certificate. Do we have another one?
What is our goal for United Way? How long do we have left on our goal?
Somebody else.
Yeah, someone else. There you go. Well, great. I want to thank everyone for coming. We're going to have the video, the slides, and all this stuff packaged up so we can actually share this. The goal of this is to evangelize, right? So we want to actually share the information. Again, I mean, it's been a while since I've been in school, but it's not hard to figure out 58.9 is failing. 39.1 is really failing. So we really have to let people know that we're not dealing with a problem here. We're dealing with a crisis. And when we have a crisis, it means we have to do something we don't normally do. We have to do something exceptional. And that part of that is sharing the message with other people, letting them know what the impact is really in terms of quality of life and getting people engaged. So our information is available. We'll have this information out very shortly. I want to thank you guys for coming to ConnecTalk and have a great evening.